Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. We will begin with an invocation from Police Chaplain Robert Fesmeyer.
You are welcomed and invited to join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, creator of life and beauty, thank you for this beautiful fall day, the reduced temperatures that bring a sense of newness and opportunity and hope in a better future. We can see your hand in the detail and the beauty if we'll only stop to see it. Thank you for the gift of life, your mercies that are new every morning, the privilege of sharing in this gift with those around us, and the greater opportunity of life, which is the power and purpose of something greater than ourselves. Grant us the courage and the strength to be the hope we want to see in the world around us. May we lead our lives with a joy that demonstrates our strength and walk with you. May we serve with compassion, always choosing with wisdom the right over the wrong. Help us identify and dispose of any motives that come from self-promotion, any gain built on the suffering, or maligning of one group of people over another. May we seek to do good, to be good, and to spread good in all that we do and say. Grant us patience to hear each other, exposing deception and shining the light of truth on everything we do as a community and as a city. May respect, honor, humility, wisdom, courage, and compassion be our guide, and may we honor those who deserve honor. For we pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll ask Councilman DeCiccio to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
To the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty.
Welcome to the October 26th formal meeting of the Phoenix City Council. We'll now call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilwoman Ansari.
Here.
Councilman DeCiccio. Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Here.
Councilwoman Stark.
Here.
Councilman Waring.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pastor.
Here.
Mayor Gallego.
Here. Carmen Cota is here with us to provide interpretation. Carmen, would you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, Mayor. Thank you. As you stated, my name is Carmen Cota. I will be providing interpretation for our Spanish-speaking audience. Let me introduce myself to our Spanish-speaking audience. Buenas tardes, soy Carmen Cota. Yo les estaré interpretando hoy día en esta reunión. Gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Will the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G7042, S 49080 through 49118, and resolutions 22074 through 22079.
Public comment provides an important role in this city council meeting. Will our city attorney please explain the role?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items to be discussed. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the council. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made in the citizen comment session at the end of the agenda. The City Council and staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to pending investigation, claims, or litigation. The City Code requires speakers to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language, threats, or personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. A person who violates these rules will lose the opportunity to continue to speak.
Thank you. Item 1, meeting minutes. Councilman Waring, do you have a motion?
Yes, move to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Nay. Passes unanimously. Vice Mayor, item 2.
Yes, motion to approve mayor and city council boards and commissions nominations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you so much to the individuals who are stepping up to serve our community. We will now swear them in. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of, according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you for your service. The council members would ask that you go behind the dais so we can congratulate you. Thank you. And now we have a very special swearing in. We would like to ask our municipal court judges to come forward. And we would invite their families to join them. Thank you for stepping up to serve our city in this extremely important role. Please raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of municipal court judge according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you and congratulations. We are honored to have you. We would like to congratulate Alexander Benezra and Heidi Gilbert and thank them for their longtime service to the City of Phoenix and stepping up in this new important role. The Vice Mayor and I have just confirmed, and we also, the younger Benezra may be the youngest person we remember coming behind the podium. So I think that is auspicious for a good council meeting today. And now we move to the liquor license portion of our agenda. The City of Phoenix advises the state of Arizona on liquor licenses. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve items 4 through 13.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We do have applicants available to testify in favor if anyone would like to hear from them. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Pass unanimously. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business, planning, and zoning?
Yes, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Motion to approve items 14 through 72, except the following. Items 24, 25, 26, 32, 33, 34, 40, 42, 60. Can the clerk confirm if there are any items that should be excluded for an in-person public comment?
Yes, Mayor and Vice Mayor. Please also exclude item 37, item 55, and item 69. That's 37, 55, and 69. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia, Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Items 24 and 25 are both related to partnerships with St. Vincent de Paul to address housing-related issues, so we will hear them together. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion for items 24 and 25.
We have one member of the public here to comment. Leonard Clark, please come forward.
Thank you, council members, for letting me have the benefit of speaking to you all. I want to thank the diocese, probably not saying it right, of St. Vincent de Paul for helping right now, because we have such an issue right now with people who are homeless, and I think that it's not a partisan issue. I think it's a bipartisan issue. When human beings, doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, when they're out on the street, whether they're drug addicted or mentally ill, I think we can all work together. And I'm hoping that you'll support St. Vincent de Paul providing more shelter. The solutions are complicated, and I'm hoping that we can all work together to do something about having the homeless have safe places to go until we can help them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Mayor. Never heard that before or felt it. Really excited to support this. The light rail? Okay. I hope.
It is an item related to St. Vincent de Paul, so.
Okay. Really excited to support both of these items. Item 24 is the shelter that's both staff and St. Vincent de Paul have worked really hard on. It's been really successful. Over 547 unduplicated people have been supported so far. Obviously thanking Scott, but our partners were willing and able to take on this role, which started as a potential heat respite site and now is a full-blown shelter. It's been amazing to work alongside them and see the success that they've been having. In a similar measure on item 25, it's also a great program that's had an 80% success rate, moving folks to permanent housing. It's great that we're investing in wraparound services. This facility in particular that's going to be expanded is one of the most dignified facilities that I've had the fortune to visit. folks have individual setups and common space where I think we see the success come from. And so the expansion of this makes sense. It's already in their property. So really excited to support both items. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman DeCiccio.
And
Followed by
mine are just
Councilwoman
comments, Mayor. I'm going to end up voting for this, but I kept vacillating back and forth whether or not to support it. We spent tens of millions of dollars on trying to deal with homelessness in the city, and to this date, we still are getting more and more. It just seems like it just hasn't ended. But you know, at the same time, I don't want to take the gamble that this actually could be helpful to somebody, just to talk about it politically. But at the same time, I do have concerns, and I do want to make sure staff provides us some measurements, some levels of success. What is happening with all the money that we've spent with the ARPA monies, with the ARPA and the CARES money. So if you could give us some sort of report of where we are to date and what we're seeing and what we've done and how to measure that, I'd sure like to do it. I know the council would like to do whatever is the most effective. This is not a political thing. It's not a Republican or Democrat, as Mr. Leonard talked about over there. It is not that. It's just, you know, we want to get something done and we want to do it. The other thing to think about is I'm concerned that we're not addressing the root cause of this, what deals with drug and alcohol abuse and those individuals and how we're treating them. That seems to me to be the biggest issue. I was out in a clinic on the west side of Phoenix. I talked to a bunch of the doctors there. They deal primarily with immigrant women that are pregnant, trying to deal with how do you give the, how do they deal with child care and how do they deal with having babies. And so a friend of mine is actually involved in helping them out. And so she invited me to go talk to them, and there were just scores of homeless. And I asked the doctor there, the main doctor, and I said, hey, so what do you see here, doc? He said, a lot of this, he says, this is all fentanyl. He goes, everybody that he's seeing right now has a fentanyl problem. And it was just sad. I mean, there was one guy sleeping right in front of their door where people are trying to get by. And it just, I don't know how we deal with it. It's got to be from people that are smarter than me to deal with that. But I do have concerns that we're not addressing that hardcore individual that may need help, that may be asking for help. And so I'll be voting for 24, 25, and 26, so you don't have to worry about 26 on that either. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ansari.
Thank you, Mayor. I could not be more supportive of this item. I just wanted to congratulate everyone from Councilmember Garcia to everyone like Gina and Scott and Rachel who have worked on this. I think it's an exemplary model and approach to homelessness solutions in our city. I remember our last conversation about this, there was a lot of discussion around both success stories, it's data, but also success stories. And I think the reputation that the 28th Street and Washington Street shelter has made or has among the unsheltered population, among providers, it's amazing. Like, people actually know about it. They want to go there. I think they are more likely to go there than they are to some of our other shelters that we have. And I also just want to thank Rachel for the weekly emails that she sends to all of us with the data of this week. The current count of folks in the shelter is this number. The unduplicated number of people served is on that as well. It's really helpful to see, and just, again, I think this is exactly the kind of model that we should be pursuing moving forward. And also, obviously, huge props to St. Vincent de Paul, because I think they are providing excellent care and services for the folks there. I also wanted to let people know and encourage folks to sign up for Ash Us's newsletter. She does a monthly recap and has been working with Phoenix Rescue Mission on a regional gap analysis study that looks at unmet needs surrounding homelessness, addiction, and food insecurities. And that's a very helpful resource that we have found in our office as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I also want to thank everyone involved in this project. Thank you, Councilmember Garcia, for that vision. And for all of you that have not had a chance to really go and tour the project and go tour the facility, I would recommend everyone to go out there just to the feeling that you get when you walk in there, and the feeling that people have when they're receiving the services, and all the great things that are happening there, the success stories, and people feeling that they have a place to stay, a place for themselves, for their pets, for their belongings, just the respect that you can feel when you walk into the facility. I think that is what people need. Folks that are unsheltered and are experiencing homelessness and need some help getting back on their feet. I think this is a great model. I think it's a model that we need to continue to follow in other places. So if you have not been out there to tour the location, I recommend that everyone go ahead and do so, just because I think this is a great example in terms of what we should be doing moving forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Vice Mayor.
I actually have a question on item 25. My question is, it talks about wraparound services. What type of wraparound services are going to be given? And I cannot remember, because there's a number of projects that are going to be coming in front of us, if this is also the work-based or workforce project.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor. On item 25, this is the funding for the Oz 2, it's called, Ozanam Manor. And this one is not, I think, the specific workforce program. We've had some that are specifically dedicated to that, but there are many, many wraparound services that are provided, and I'll turn it over to Rachel and Scott to talk about the specifics of that.
Mayor, members of the council, the wraparound services at Ozanam Manor 2 consists of case management. Every single individual, we're requiring in the contract that 100% of the clients at Ozanam Manor 2 be case managed, so that each and every one of them will have a housing plan. There will also be behavioral health services offered at Ozanam Manor 2, employment services. Those are the types of wraparound services we'll have at St. Vincent de Paul's Ozanam Manor 2.
I just can't remember, because we talked about one of them where they would be cleaning the community, or it's one of the requirements of this process or something, and I just want to get clarity on which project it is.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, I believe what you're referring to is we have plans for a Sprung structure.
Okay.
And as a condition of the contribution that the state of Arizona, the Department of Housing is providing to that project, they're requiring a workforce development component, and that will also be administered by St. Vincent de Paul. One of the examples would be, on the site and in the neighborhood work.
Okay, so it is by St. Vincent de Paul. That's where I'm getting confused, because I thought
Yes,
the subject that we spoke about, I believe, was St. Vincent de Paul. It might be the Sprung structure, and that's where I'm wanting clarity.
That's correct, Vice Mayor. They would be the provider of those workforce development services at the Sprung structure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We want to make sure that we serve our entire city, but when we make an investment in a neighborhood, we also hope that it really helps that specific neighborhood. So can you talk about the level of prioritization for people in Phoenix, and then specifically, will there be outreach near Oz 2 to see if there are people experiencing homelessness in that immediate area?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Yes, we have written language into this contract that St. Vincent de Paul has agreed upon that a prioritization will be for unsheltered individuals in the city of Phoenix. So both St. Vincent de Paul does a great job doing outreach around their Watkins campus. So that is obviously a priority for them for Ozanam Manor 2, which will be located on the Watkins campus. But then we also have a prioritization here within the Office of Homeless Solutions to focus on the area outside the Human Services campus as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And then caseworkers are some of the most important people in Phoenix, and we love that everyone will have a caseworker. Do we have a sense as to what the ratio of caseworkers to people served will be?
Mayor, members of the council, a best practice is no more than 1 to 25. I do not have that information for Ozanam Manor 2 at this time, only that 100% of clients will be case managed.
Great, thank you. And thank you to all the caseworkers who are out there, probably too busy to be watching council meetings. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio, Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 26 is Homeless Services Sprung Structure 2.
Move item 26.
Second.
We will turn to Councilwoman Ansari for comments.
Thank you. Mostly comments, but I do have a couple questions. Very glad to be able to vote on an item today that is going to help us save lives in the 2023 heat season next year. What we're looking at today is another sprung structure similar to the one down by the zone, as well as a plan to incorporate 25 to 50 smaller homes that will house one individual each, which means we'll be serving up to 250 individuals at one time with this new addition in District 7. I did ask to see a 2022 preliminary report from the Office of Heat Response last Thursday that told us that the county has confirmed 331 heat deaths, 128 remain under investigation. 80% of heat deaths occurred outside, and out of the 66 indoor heat-related deaths, 62 were due to lack of air conditioning, electricity, and something completely preventable. And finally, for the 183 heat-related deaths specifically identified to be taken place in Phoenix, 91 were unsheltered individuals, and 122 of them involved drug or alcohol use. I'm only reiterating these numbers because clearly they are appalling and they must be reversed, and I do believe that every single heat death is preventable. A couple thoughts as I've been observing our efforts across the city, especially at 51st Avenue and Baseline recently. I do think we need to tweak our outreach strategies a bit. As was mentioned, fentanyl is creating many, many more challenges and preventing some of the results that we want to see. So I want to make sure that we have capacity in place, whether it relates to the sprung structure or overall, capacity that really has expertise in substance abuse and addiction, as well as a sufficient number of detox facilities around the city to provide care. I also want to ask that we really prioritize the area down by the zone when it comes to outreach for this new shelter. I think it is definitely a priority of mine, and I feel the city to reduce the number of folks who are around the zone. As we discussed, we saw great success in the 28th Street shelter, and I know Councilmember Garcia and his team worked so hard to build such a great reputation for that shelter, and I'm just very much looking forward to working on this with you. I think that with your help, Scott and Rachel and Gina, really honing in on the services and working hand in hand with partners, I think we can do the same with this new site as well. Very excited, looking forward to embarking on our community outreach plan together. For those who aren't super familiar with the location, it is not really surrounded by a lot of residential, which is great, but a couple miles away there's a school and a park, and I think outreach there will be incredibly important, and also wanting to make sure that this is a point of pride for the community that they are welcoming this. So thank you so much. Just had a couple questions. I did want to ask what some of the lessons learned were from our first sprung structure project down by the zone. And in particular, I want to make sure things like reliable water access are not an afterthought, but up and ready when things start. So just if you could tell us what we've learned from that experience and if that has changed anything about how we intend to implement this new sprung structure.
Mayor, Councilwoman Ansari, members of the council, I'll start and then I'll kick it over to Scott, who was employed here when the first sprung structure went up. But the things that Scott and I have talked about that we've learned from the sprung structure on the Human Services campus is there's not enough community space there. It's one structure. We added some restrooms, but there's just not enough space for community there. Mm-hmm. So in this new sprung structure site, we will have multiple structures and lots of community space. The other big thing that we've learned about the Human Service Campus, and they've learned as well, is bunk beds don't always work for our population. So right. We're going into this planning for as few bunk beds as possible. We want to get to that 200 capacity in the congregate setting, but bunk beds will be limited. Scott, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Rachel. Councilwoman, Mayor, members of the council, I would reciprocate exactly that. And there was a few more lessons in that as well. Of one, obviously we want to get more diverse in where we locate our shelters. Mm-hmm. Concentrating shelter in one location has side effects that we want to mitigate going forward. We also want to pilot some non-congregate settings within the Sprung structure to where we can see if there's other things we can do throughout the city in smaller settings, maybe 10, 12, 15 people in partnership with providers or faith-based groups or whatever entities. So we're looking at those entities as well. And then we're also going to look at transportation issues. So if we put a shelter in an area like this where transportation might be somewhat of an issue, how are we mitigating that transportation and the impact of walking within that community of our unsheltered population? So there's several things we've learned from the Sprung structure down to campus, along with 2739 East Washington, and we're taking all those examples and improving as we go into this new shelter project.
And do we know yet how the Sprung structures and then the homes, the modular homes, will work hand in hand? I mean, like in terms of the folks using the community spaces, for example.
Mayor, Councilwoman Ansari, members of the council. So it will be one large project. So we don't have an operator yet. We're using our qualified vendor list that we're in the process of gathering to select an operator. But the operator will be in charge of the entire shelter, both the congregate settings and those non-congregate smaller modular units as well.
Okay, awesome. And I know we've talked a ton about timing and how important it is to get this up before the peak heat season next year. Can you elaborate on what the timeline looks like between now and then?
Sure, Mayor, Councilwoman Ansari, members of the council. We have a detailed timeline of all of the goals that we need to meet as far as permitting, getting our general contractor on board. But this is really the first step in getting to be able to really begin to plan and get those site plans. But our goal is to have it open by May of 2023. We were told it would take a good 9 months to get this project going, so we are on very tight deadlines.
Okay. Well, thank you so much again. I'm so grateful for you all, and I'm very excited about this. I think it's going to be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, again, giving you all kudos, giving Councilwoman Ansari kudos as well for taking on another space in your district. I think it's really important. I just applaud the fact that, we were able to try something in that area and then being able to move it somewhere else. I think it's really important that we're taking this on, and I want to thank you all because I know we're all, and you all are learning together and going with it. A couple of questions I had was, since it is going to be further from there, what does access to services look like? And then the second question is also storage. And I think it's two things we've seen on the 28th Street and Washington shelter, and you've all been great at figuring that out, but if you can speak to that a little bit. Thank you, Council Member, Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, those are two issues that we've continued to address. I'll start with property, if you don't mind with that one. We've continued to, the city started several years ago with starting a property project in collaboration with the Human Service Campus, where the city donated storage bins to the campus, and those got immediately utilized. We immediately started going to look for other opportunities for storage, where we actually piloted a shipping container, which we're getting ready to use when we implement the cleanups around the campus for either long-term storage of abandoned property or individuals' property, and we have more of those containers on the way. We've also applied with other grant opportunities to increase that shelter, but we know going forward any project we build is going to have a shelter component to it, because we truly believe that if someone gets evicted or has their family belongings, they shouldn't have to give those up to go into a shelter bed. So all of our projects going forward will have some shelter component, while we also try to elevate the shelter capacity. Storage. Shelter of belongings. How about that? Storage opportunity in all of these, so that people don't have to give up their belongings just to take in a shelter bed. The other question was around access to services and how
Yes.
you get folks back and forth.
So we do not want to interrupt connection to services, especially if someone has case management already with an entity, or a primary care physician, or ongoing appointments. We will ensure that those do not get interfered with when someone comes into that shelter. A lot of times Medicaid covers the services to medical facilities, but to other appointments such as apartment searching or getting an ID, we will be the ones trying to provide that transportation to help mitigate that. And it's convenient because the new location for the shelter is on a bus line, so we will have bus opportunities for people too, but we will make sure people get to those type of appointments.
Well, thank you all so much. I think we've done two models here. One is repurposing a facility and being able to make that work, and now being able to do a sprung structure in an empty space. I think you've been able to, with these two pilots, hopefully be able to both do it in other parts of our city in other areas of our city, but definitely I think it's something that, you know, we've constantly say it's not just the Phoenix, but I think now we can go and have conversations, whether it's with the county or other cities around us, and actually be able to show them examples and learn from some of the lessons we've taken. So thank you all. I think your work is not only improving, you know, the life of people here in Phoenix, but I think it will support the entire state. So thank you.
Are there any other comments? No? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 8-0.
I would like to move item 32.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion, any discussion on this? Garcia, I believe. Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you. I am very excited to be supporting this item today. I wanted to take a moment to thank Chris Mackey and her team in the Community and Economic Development Department for their hard work on this contract. Just yesterday, I had the great privilege of joining Councilmember Garcia at the Arizona Fresh groundbreaking ceremony in District 8. The project is an incredible win for South Phoenix. Among many other great benefits, Arizona Fresh will help address the inefficiencies in our agricultural supply chain. The project serves as another example of cities' important economic ties with Mexico. Mexico is by far our state's largest trading partner, with over 1 in every 3 of our exports destined to Mexico. Today's item will continue to strengthen this trade relationship by providing Phoenix-based companies with the support and know-how they need. From business expansions in Mexico to opportunities for investment in Phoenix, this contract will help open doors and build important relationships. Again, I want to thank Chris Mackey and her team for bringing this item to us today, and I'm very happy to be able to support this item.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. Same. Chris and Juan, thank you so much for all the work. We, Councilman Guardado and myself, had the pleasure of being there for the reopening of the office in Hermosillo. I think we need to continue and strengthen this relationship, what's now being called a mega region with the states around us and including Mexico. Yes, I think yesterday's work of the Arizona Fresh project shows how strong that relationship is, and looking forward to it continuing to grow. Really excited for some of the businesses we've met in Mexico to come up to Phoenix, but also some of our, obviously, Phoenix residents and partners to be able to continue to work in Hermosillo and in the region. So really excited to support this project as well. And thank you to the staff. And also, this also helps promote the 2 staff that are in Hermosillo that every day represent the city in a beautiful office that we have down there. So thank you.
Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Wow.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
We next move to 2 related items, 33 and 34, related to the Downtown Enhanced Municipal Services District budget. The first for the assessments and public hearing date, the second for the assessment district diagram. Do we have a motion?
I move items 33 and 34.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This one is very exciting as we go into a major season for downtown, including many Super Bowl events in our downtown, and looking forward to continuing our partnership with our Enhanced Municipal Services District. We do have a representative here to speak if any questions, any comments. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
Oh,
Yes.
sorry. That is no.
33 and 34.
So it's to set a meeting and to draw, and the diagram.
Right, it's 33 and 34. No, Mayor.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 7-2.
We next move to item 37, which is related to off-highway vehicles and motorcycles. Do we have a motion?
I move item 37.
Second.
Leonard Clark is here to provide testimony.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I strongly support this, and I think it's apropos to also ask you in the future, Phoenix needs to be the leader in technology. They have drones now that can go off into the desert and do these things. And when the cost becomes, to save lives, the cost should be worth it. If it's, I don't know, what is the price to save a human life? There's no such thing, but maybe besides motorcycles, we could think of off vehicles that could, like for drones, because they've designed them now large enough to carry human beings. I don't know how far they are along, but I'm just hoping in the future you would consider that. And I hope you'll vote yes for the off-road vehicles, because we need them. I'm not sure if it's just for rescue efforts, but for all kinds of things that the city needs to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio, Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 40 is related to the Neighborhood Block Watch grant application process and guidebook. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
I move to approve. Sorry. I was that
I'll
somebody was
second it.
coming up. It's okay.
We will, much of the council would like to comment on this very important item, and I would like to thank our Neighborhood Block Watch Advisory Commission for their diligence and hard work on both the guidebook and the entire process. We will turn first to Councilwoman Stark, followed by Councilwoman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the Neighborhood Block Watch Oversight Committee for recommending these revisions to the Neighborhood Block Watch Grant Program Application Guide. This is an arduous process that our Oversight Committee goes through reviewing these grants, and I think they've made some great recommendations. Most notably, first is the grant dollar limitations. They're going from $12,000 to $15,000. But secondly, they are making a recommendation for a line item veto, which I think will help in the decision making. I know the last couple years, the council has reviewed some of the recommendations of our Oversight Council, and I think it's because they have been limited without the ability to do line item vetoes, and I think this will help so that if there's that one issue that really doesn't comply with the application guide, they can veto that but allow the rest of it to move forward. So I'm very excited about this. I think Councilwoman O'Brien has a slight recommendation on the line item veto, and I'll certainly support that. And I do want to thank Chief Kurtenbach. I know you have been with this committee for many years, and I appreciate all the work that you've done. I will be supporting this for sure. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go next to Councilwoman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some comments, but I also do have some questions for staff and our chairwoman if they would join us. I also want to thank the committee, the volunteers on this committee work endless hours to make sure that our guide and our applications are thoroughly reviewed and written. So I appreciate that. In this year's guide, I also am happy to see the line item veto come, because I think that will give us more flexibility in ensuring that we're able to approve as many applications as possible, but also provide an opportunity when things that are inappropriate to line item those out. But one of the things that I would like to add, and I've had passed out to everybody, is to add an appeal process to the guide so that our organizations and block watches that do apply, if they feel like they should be able to appeal a line item veto, would have that process included. And I wanted to give Chairwoman Arias a chance to speak to that as we had a little bit of phone call today about it.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman O'Brien, Mayor Gallego, and the rest of the council. First of all, Councilwoman Stark, thank you very much for your kind words. They're much appreciated. It is a lot of work, and the committee is very dedicated with what they do. The line item veto in the grant, as you mentioned, Councilwoman Stark, it gives us the ability to pass a grant that possibly would not have passed for a single item. And the ability to appeal is what we had in the past, and we'll certainly continue that in the future, especially if we add the line that you've suggested.
Wonderful. So I'm not sure what the appropriate step here is. Do I need to make an amendment to the motion?
I'd be happy to.
A friendly amendment to add the
Absolutely.
language that you all were provided to the guide.
And second.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. And again, really do appreciate all of your work. Thank you, Charmaine, for getting me, or Commander Osborne, for getting me language very quickly today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go next to Councilwoman Ansari.
Thank you. I pretty much just want to echo everything that has been said. I know the committee has spent countless hours, all voluntarily, so we're really, really grateful, and I wanted to give the chair, Carmen Arias, and the vice chair, Jennifer Rouse, a special shout out for your commitment to all of this work, and I'm excited that we'll be able to support more groups and that the award allocations will be higher, and I do think the line item veto will be really helpful and save a lot of headaches in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on this issue. One of the things that was hotly debated when we had GAIN events was whether or not food could be part of it, and it would be good to note for our block watches that that can be part of it, because food does bring people together and hopefully lets us reach people who will benefit from hearing safety programs. We know that communities are safer when neighborhoods are in the lead. Neighborhoods know what works for their neighborhood, what belongs, and what might require additional attention. So this can be important community building. We have this program because the voters approved it, that we went to them and it was part of a sales tax. And I mention that because there is a public policy debate right now about eliminating residential rental tax, and this is one of the programs that would be impacted should that funding source go away. It's very important to our neighborhoods that we continue to make these investments. It is one of the programs that I hear about the most and that neighborhoods feel is most tangible. And so just as we debate at the state legislature what fiscal impacts will be on the city, we ought to remember how important this program is. And for our final comments, I'll turn to our Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Carmen, I have a question for you regarding lighting of alleys. I was trying to find it, but that is now part of, or has been part of, the block watch.
That is correct, Councilwoman Pastor.
Yeah, because I
we
just
have
know.
approved alley lighting. We don't approve alley cameras. Because
Okay.
cameras are not available, are not allowed, but we do allow lighting and pay for it.
And then what about gated?
And we have also added to the new grant the ability to pay for the repair and maintenance of the gated alleys, because that wasn't part of the original program with the city, and so some of the neighborhoods are having an issue with maintenance on the gated alleys.
That's my most exciting part, only because we still need to maintain them and be able to have some ability for neighborhoods to have access to dollars. So thank you. Really appreciate all your work and the committee's work.
Thank you very much.
Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
I apologize. Was that a yes? Yes. Thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry, did you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego,
Yes.
Woo!
9-0.
Thank you. Item 42 is adding civilian positions in the police department for staffing relief.
Move item 42.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll turn to our public safety chairwoman.
Thank you so much, Mayor. As many of you already know, our police force is chronically understaffed. Lack of recruits and high turnover have been a consistent problem facing all of our precincts. And as a result, those active officers that we do have are stretched very thin, often racing from call to call and still unable to meet our city's demand. Our office holds monthly community meetings, and a large part of our attendees are leaders of their neighborhoods and block watch organizations. They have consistently vocalized the desire to see more civilian staff support for our district's precincts and community action officers. Our civilians can be a huge asset to public safety maintenance efforts by taking over administrative, clerical tasks and freeing up uniformed officers, keeping them out on patrol where they're needed the most. The conviction and passion shown by my constituents has made it very clear that there is a massive amount of untapped potential in our citizens to contribute to the police efforts in their community and to help keep us all safe. So I will be supporting this effort, this item today. Thank you.
Councilwoman Stark.
Yes, I just have one question. If, I don't know, Commander or Chief Connolly, and it really has to do with I know we have a program of volunteers that already help with parking and motorists, and so is this to complement what we do with our volunteers?
Mayor, Council, Stark, so first and foremost, we have an incredible group of professional civilian staff that help us augment the daily duties of the police officers in our department. We have PAs currently that exist and they're scattered throughout the organization. There's 130 of them. I currently have 18 in the patrol division, and they do a litany of duties. You see them some down here in the downtown. I think you see them in City Hall. We have them in our Transit Bureau, our Homeland Defense Bureau, all of our bureaus. So this concept of taking this civilianization and shift and share of responsibility is these 8 PAs, we will assign them to the patrol division. And we identified those 4 call types within the 8 call types that we believe we can act on now to further assist our police officers in providing service to our community, really focusing them on getting our police officers focused on crime fighting. I think that Chief Sullivan's been very clear, and not responding to non-emergent, non-criminal calls. So we will use these 8 PAs that you're here for today and staff them with vehicles and equipment to get out there and start taking, especially non-injury accidents, right? We've seen some success in that. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, it does. One of my favorite constituents actually works and volunteers for the motorist issues. I want to keep him busy, so I'm glad to see you're still using them as volunteers. He's a great guy, but thank you.
Mayor and Council and Councilwoman Stark, if I could also delineate, we have a volunteer program that's run out of our Community Engagement Bureau that's wonderful. And within that, the motor assists, you see some of those also performing some of that mission that you're speaking of, so it's really good.
Councilwoman Ansari.
I also just wanted to support this item. I think the work that we do in the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee, one of the most exciting and rewarding has been this study that ASU is helping us with to really look at, what are functions within the police department that don't require an armed, the dark blue suits either. And I think this is one of many steps we're taking, but I really hope to see more work like this being done as quickly as possible to hire these civilian positions. I know they've been also very popular in terms of applicants and whatnot, and really hope that it does make a difference in terms of our recruitment as well and addressing staffing issues that we're having. So excited to support it and looking forward to seeing the results of how these civilian positions do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and thank you to the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee that has been working very hard to get us to this item. This is a great example of our partnership with Arizona State University. They help us understand best practices and policy options so that we can serve our citizens more effectively. So thank you to the Arizona State University team for the work that brought us here today. Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio. Yes. Garcia.
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next move to item 55, which is SRP Distribution Design and Construction Contract for Palo Verde Golf Course Maintenance Building. Do we have a motion?
Move item 55.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a comment from Jeremy Thacker. The floor is yours.
I oppose any additions to the city golf courses because it's a gross misappropriation of funds for a very small percentage of the population. And I am resubmitting my citizen petition that was submitted earlier this year and never heard by the council or any subcommittees based on the new rule, the changing of the how citizen petitions are handled recently. So I don't know. I emailed that to the council packet. I'm assuming that'll take its course. But that's it.
Thank you. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio, Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Pastor,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
We next move to item 60, which is a memorandum of understanding among Denver Water, the Southern Nevada Water Authority, Metropolitan Water District, and others to commit to further water conservation in the Colorado River Basin. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve item 60.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and I will turn to our AMWA board member, Councilwoman O'Brien, for comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to give a little background and make some comments regarding today's MOU. This was first introduced and signed by Denver Water, then Southern Nevada Water Authority, and Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. The original parties have expanded the reach of the MOU by inviting additional regional parties, including the cities in Arizona, to participate. In addition, this MOU notes the difficult conditions on the Colorado River that require municipal providers to redouble efforts to conserve water relied upon by over 40 million people. The MOU aspires to create common framework where water providers agree to increase water conservation and water reuse programs, implement best program practices, and this is perhaps most importantly, the MOU or state can do this alone. And for those reasons also, Mayor, I will be supporting this very important MOU. It's very important for us to preserve the Colorado River, not just for our own citizens, because we depend upon it for water. In addition, the recreation, the wildlife, it's vital to our region.
Thank you. Well said. More than 40 million people rely on the Colorado River, most of them through a municipal water utility. I appreciate that we are stepping up to be part of a very important conversation. Phoenix has long prioritized water conservation. We've reduced per capita water use by 30% over the last 30 years, even with an increase in population of over 400,000 people. In the 1970s, over 80% of Phoenix residential properties were landscaped with majority turf. Today, that number is less than 10%. We continue to innovate and lead in this area, and we will work with many partners. I am grateful to see that the federal government is willing to partner with Western water providers through important legislation, including the Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act. And I hope that the City of Phoenix and our municipal partners will be competitive for grant opportunities. This MOU will be helpful in regional communication and collaboration, including sharing best practices and better aligning and advocating for investment in cities. I look forward to supporting it. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I too support this item. I really want us to make sure that we're thinking about the turf reduction programs, but also that we are clear in our messaging that our efforts do not interfere with our plan to expand the tree canopy. Item 3 of the MOU speaks to increasing the water reuse and recycling programs. I do think we have fallen behind, and in conversations we've had before, I think it's important for us to look for innovation and look at different ways of reusing and recycling water. I know there's grant money out there with the infrastructure bill and other sorts, but really do think we should obviously not just symbolically sign this, but look to the areas in which we can make investments and make sure that we're getting ahead of the reuse and recycling of water, and I will support this item.
Thank you. Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio. Garcia.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
I apologize, Councilman Waring. Was that a?
Yes. You hear
Hello?
me? Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Pastor.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Woohoo. I think it's notable that so many of the votes we take related to water are 9-0. Water in Arizona has been a bipartisan priority, and that continues today. We move to 69, termination of the public use dedications of the Grand Paseo Trail. And this is an item in District 6. Member DeCiccio, do you wish to make the motion?
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Leonard Clark, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I think there was a mistake because I did put down for the water conservation thing, so I'll try to speak to it, I guess, in citizen comments because I'm sure it was just a mix-up or something. So I really wanted to talk about that, and so I will at some point. But I'm a little uncomfortable because I don't know, and it is my fault. I haven't checked on what's going on. Were there community meetings held? Because I'm a little concerned it's saying that the public is now going to be not allowed on this trail, and I'm probably off on it. Maybe the wealthy people in the, I forgot the name, the Biltmore, who are now going to be eliminating something that the City of Phoenix had agreed way back in 1975 that the public would have access to the trail, because I'm a little concerned because I've heard across the country, I've even been in a place in another city where you would think that we were trespassers, the public, because the developers built everything around to the mountain area, this tiny little path. So I'm hoping that I'm way off on it, that members of the public meetings were held before the people in the Biltmore decided they were going to close off a trail that had been open to the public, the citizens here, since at least, believe 1975. But I want to be fair, and I want to hear the other side of why the public is now not being allowed to use what was a public trail. So, and also the water thing. Someday I'm going to we're running out of water fast. I'll talk about that later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, it's not an official trail, but could Cynthia, or Alan, please go talk to him and explain it to him what the situation is. He'll be fine afterwards. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Pastor. Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next move to the final portion of our meeting, resident or citizen comments, and I will turn to our city attorney to introduce this portion.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, one moment. Okay, thank you, Mayor. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the City Council for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The citizen comment session is limited to 30 minutes. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the City Council to listen to the comments, but prohibits council members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you. We have 3 residents here to speak. Why don't we begin with Leonard Clark, followed by Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I want to thank you for working with Sheriff Pinzon, the Sheriff of Maricopa County. We've all been greatly concerned. It's not just, it's going around the nation and in other European countries that in Arizona, the citizens, not only our citizens in Phoenix, but in Mesa, there are groups that were trying and are trying to intimidate our people from voting in what is one of the oldest traditions of our American, even though my conservative friends disagree, our constitutional democratic republic. But I want to thank you for working with the sheriff. I know that they just held a press conference over here, Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. 93%, I believe Jeremy Duda, a journalist, just released that the director of elections was saying have so far voted, and a very small amount have voted, you know, at the early balloting stations. So I'm deeply concerned about that. I'm hoping that you might advocate, even though we have a legislature that's controlled by a group of people who think it's all right to overturn the votes of the people, because we just don't know what we're doing. But maybe you could propose to the state legislature that they come up with some type of law that would, we still have our transparency under our Arizona state statutes. We have the major political parties going in and auditing, you know, these votes. So maybe you could advocate, you know, to the state legislature, hey, why do we have to have people videotaping with AR-15s and body armor on their license plates? Because as you know, a chilling effect can occur. It's like, whoa, what if I show up and vote them? You know, so this kind of thing. I hope you'll do that. I just also want to ask you to please consider, because we're probably going to have a huge amount of our elderly, if the Republicans, I'm sorry, I'm an independent, okay? Democrats don't like me either, but we have to plan ahead, just like we're doing for our water, because we do have some Republicans who are running, and if they get their way, Medicare is going to be cut back for a lot of our elderly citizens and Social Security. So if we think the homeless problem is something big problem now, you know, we're the fifth largest city in the country. So please, I would ask that you propose funding, because we have to plan, if the Republicans plan to win, to cut back Social Security, which they're bragging about, and Medicare. We need something for our elderly and our people who have Social Security. We really need protection on that. I know I'm almost out of time. The water thing, groundwater drives me crazy. We already have large pools, according to Yale 360 from a 2019 report I was just reading, so that the groundwater that comes down is over major empty aquifers. But doesn't it drive you crazy to see these large pools of water that just get evaporated back up? If somehow we could use, maybe in your grants that you were talking about, anyways, with the federal government, maybe solar-powered stations to get this groundwater there. Thank you so much, and vote America, because we're the United States. Don't be intimidated. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy is next, followed by Jana.
Thank you. I submitted a second citizen petition today as well for regarding an ethics violation by Charlie Jones that I submitted a while back, and was viewed by David Benton, I believe, and decided and investigated by him originally as not being a violation. I had a conversation with him in September, and he was going to revisit it, and I still haven't heard anything back after a couple emails. Regardless, I think it's these ethics complaints should be seen at least by the full council, since no ethics commission is in place still, and I'm asking for that complaint to be reviewed and decided by the full council. Thank you.
Jana is next. Jana? All right, we do not see Jana, so with that, we are adjourned. We're yes? What? I was like, eh?
lead pipes to make our water safer and drinkable, and so much more. These projects are going to benefit our community, create community wealth, and invest in the people of Phoenix and the state of Arizona to provide greater opportunities for decades to come. So, next time you will see one of these projects going on, or fly in and out from Phoenix Sky Harbor, by the way, the #1 airport in the world, remember that President Biden's infrastructure law is delivering for you an organized